What's up, friends? Thanks for joining me for another episode of Catherine's Quarters. I'm not even going to do an intro because we have so much to talk about. Imagine the NBA restarting, and that's not even the biggest news that we have to talk about. So unless you've been living under a rock, you have seen and heard about all of the protests in the wake of George Floyd's death, right? Don't get it twisted. It's not just about George Floyd. It's about Ahmaud Arbery and Walter Scott and Breonna Taylor and the countless other people who have been murdered. And people are just sick and tired. The coronavirus pandemic we've been stuck in the house for how many months now? At least 3 months, right? And if not, we've known about the coronavirus for at least 3 months. Oh, gosh, I think it is the 6th month of the year, and I'm pretty sure that this is just ridiculous. So we've at least known about the coronavirus since February? And we started taking it seriously at the end of March. So people since then have just been forced to stay at home and upset about their healthcare and upset about just literally everything because people are concerned about their lives, right? And then this video surfaces. He did not care about killing George Floyd. That officer did not give a hot damn about killing George Floyd, right? And you can see it in his face, you can see it in his demeanor. He just did not care that George Floyd was literally begging to breathe. He was begging for his life and he kept kneeling on his neck. Now, if you don't know the entire story, I suggest you go and read something. The uprisings, you can't comment on those if you have no idea where they stem from. 2020 has been just such a strange series of events, but I think the strange series of events have led to some real serious breakthrough with some people, and I'm really hoping that's the case. But we definitely have to talk about the aftermath of George Floyd's death. All 4 of the officers have been charged, arrested. All we're waiting on is the convictions now, but that's gonna take a little bit longer. We gotta let the justice system do what it does, which is annoying and frustrating. But in this instance, if we want these officers to pay for what they did to George Floyd, then we're gonna let it play out the way that it has to play out right now. But there have been a lot of protests. I mean, not just in Minneapolis, not just in New York, not just in big cities, but there are protests happening in London, France, Australia. There is an outpouring of support. Police brutality has become another topic that people are talking about once again, especially in the sports world. So we'll get to the NFL statement, we'll get to Drew Brees. We definitely have to talk about all of those things, but it's at the forefront of people's minds yet again. And hopefully this time it doesn't become just a talking point for a couple of months. To make a real change a reality, we need to be diligent in the things that we're doing. We've seen brands and corporations come out with statements of support. We stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, and while that's all well and good, you can post a tweet or you can post an Instagram hashtag. The meaning behind it is what people are really looking for at this point, because there's no more excuses. And we'll talk about that again when we talk about Drew Brees and the NFL and their statements in regards to Black Lives Matter. People are no longer just accepting you saying, we support you, we see you. No, I wanna see how much meaning you have behind your words. I wanna know that you actually believe that. I wanna hear you say that, and then I also wanna see you back it up with something. The word for 2020 is accountability. A lot of people have paid lip service to Black Lives Matter, but have not actually done anything, i.e. the NFL. Just 3 months ago, we were talking about the Rooney Rule and this ridiculous incentive that they were trying to push. But we'll get to that. People are looking for accountability. It's no longer acceptable for you to just march one day and say, I stand with you. No, when you go to the voting booth, I want to know that you stand with Black Lives Matter. When you are talking to your family and having conversations with friends and they say something offensive, I want to know that you called them out on it. I want to know that you said something. I want to know that you told them it was wrong to be offensive, to be racist, to be any of those things. It's just no longer acceptable to say, I'm not a racist. You have to be anti-racist, and you also have to hold other people accountable for their racism. We've seen a lot of brands come out with statements, but honestly, we're coming up on a time period where you're gonna get less grace for sending out a message now. People are starting to look for action behind the signs of support. People wanna see, brands stand up for the things that they say they're standing up for. And if not, people are going to stop patronizing their businesses. And that's just the reality of the situation. People are tired. People are so tired because for years and years and years and years, Black people have tried to explain and tried to get people to see and understand, and people have always turned a blind eye. It's just very easy to pretend like it doesn't exist because it doesn't affect you. And I just hope that this is not some type of trend, that people really, really get behind this and really, really understand what needs to change. And it's not just defunding the police department, which is another topic that needs to be covered with some great depth, because people are out here calling to defund the police and not really understanding what that would look like, and that's a problem. And then it's part of the media's responsibility to, if you show somebody with a sign that says defund the police, they need to explain what that actually means, because the majority of people don't actually understand what that means, or don't know what it would look like, don't even have a grasp or understanding, but it's just the police are the problem, so we need to defund the police. That's how people's solutions go. And that's just not logical. Some type of program that keeps cops in check as well, because they're keeping people and the communities in check, but nobody's keeping them in check. The people who are supposed to be their higher ups and keeping them in check and making sure they're doing the right thing, they're clearly not doing that, or they're doing a bad job of it, right? So there needs to be something. I don't know that defunding the entire police department is the right solution, but there needs to be something that's done differently. Another thing that's come up in the past couple of weeks is the issue of voting, right? Because last election, people sat at home and thought that was an acceptable way to, stick it to the man. There needs to be a real robust conversation about how voting happens as well, because you can't just tell people to go and vote. People need to go vote, yes. Don't sit your ass at home and not vote. So you need to make sure that you're researching the people who you are going to be electing to be in positions of power. Right now, there are policies in place that are clearly racist, but nobody's in a position of power to change them that actually gives a damn. So when it comes to voting, especially for white people, if you're going to say that you are a part of this Black Lives Matter movement and you stand in solidarity with the people, you want to post a black picture on Blackout Tuesday and you want to hashtag Black Lives Matter and hashtag defund the police, well, go to the voting booth and make sure that you're informed on policies from these elected officials who want you to give them their vote. You make sure that those policies align with hashtag Black Lives Matter. Trying to fix racism in this country is not just a singular thing. It's not just one singular thing and I went and voted, so now racism is fixed. I went and posted a picture of a black square on Blackout Tuesday, now racism is fixed. That's not how this works. This is centuries in the making, and it's going to take some time to correct it. But if you are not actively working to do that, then you are actively working against that. Don't get caught up in, the trend of being on social media all day and people are posting this and people are posting that and I'm gonna go out and protest. This is not a trendy thing. This is serious and affects people's lives. Let's get to how this intersects with sports, because last week, Lord Drew Brees was doing an interview with Yahoo Finance or something like that. And of course, because the conversation of police brutality has come back up again, and he was asked about the national anthem and kneeling during the national anthem. Adrian Peterson came out he came out 2 weeks ago and said that there will definitely be some kneeling come this NFL season, right? And so of course, when Drew Brees is asked about this, he says, I would never stand by anybody who kneels during the national anthem and disrespects the flag. I don't know how many times anybody has to say it. Colin Kaepernick has said it. A million people in the media have said it. People have written about it. I mean, military vets have said that it's not disrespectful. Hello, this has never been about the flag. At this point, if you are making it about the flag, you literally just don't want to have the conversation. You are trying to divert the conversation from what it actually is about. The conversation was never about the anthem. The conversation was never about the flag. The conversation was a peaceful protest to bring awareness to police brutality and social injustice. If you have not read that in one place or another, let me say it again for you. The peaceful protest was about police brutality and social injustice. Nothing to do with the military or veterans or what they have done for this country or what it means to look at that flag. Don't ever disrespect the conversation. We're done with that. What did I say the phrase for 2020 was? Accountability. Anybody talking about the flag when it comes to peaceful protests and Colin Kaepernick, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're purposely ignoring the facts to divert the conversation, and that's a problem. Drew Brees is a likable guy, and Drew Brees is philanthropic. He gave, I want to say it was $5 million to the coronavirus pandemic. I want to say he donated a crap ton of money during Katrina, and it's just, Drew Brees is a good guy, so you want to like Drew Brees, but Drew Brees has stepped in it in a way. People are paying so much attention to everything that everybody is saying, and the news cycle does not change that often. Not these days. The coronavirus pandemic and the protests. That's where we're at. If we're really being honest, protests are up here. Racism, police brutality is up here, and the coronavirus pandemic is down here. If you've seen any of the coverage of the protests, people are out in masks, yes, but we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and there are thousands of people in the streets protesting police brutality. At this point, like I said about the brands and the companies and all of that, Drew Brees is a brand, and he is really going to have to do some serious work as far as social injustice and, you know, racial equality, police reform, all of that. He's going to have to do some real work in those areas and prove to people that he wasn't trying to be disrespectful to what Colin Kaepernick's original purpose was. That also segues quite nicely into the NFL's statement. So last week, Thursday, the NFL, like 12 or 13 NFL players got together, made a video, and they were imploring the NFL to, you know, condemn racism, apologize to the players, namely Colin Kaepernick, but they didn't say that in the video. But just apologize for not listening to the players before about, you know, peaceful protest and all of the rest of the things that came about after Colin Kaepernick took a knee, right? Roger Goodell tweets out a video message, right? He goes on to say, "We, the NFL, condemn racism, and I support peaceful protest, and I will stand with you in peaceful protest," and he apologized for not listening to the players sooner. And the apology was so offensive because he didn't even name Colin Kaepernick. This whole 2.5-minute video, he didn't even say Colin Kaepernick's name, not once. I think it's a sham of an apology. I can't believe Roger Goodell even thinks that we're supposed to believe this apology. Like, at this point, like I said, people are tired. Black America is tired. The NFL is made up of 70% black players. And I mean, just 2 months ago, we were talking about them with this stupid incentive for the Rooney Rule. They were trying to incentivize hiring black coaches and coordinators. And it was just the most ridiculous. And here's the thing, you understand that it needs to happen, but like incentivizing somebody hiring a black coach to get a higher draft position is just so insulting. But Roger Goodell, like, we don't believe you. You need more people. We support peaceful protest. When? Colin Kaepernick literally doesn't have a job because you don't support peaceful protest. Are you kidding? But honestly, Roger Goodell, you know, sending this message, everybody's doing it. It's trendy right now to send out a message, but you know who really needs to be giving the apology specifically to Colin Kaepernick? The 32 owners. The 32 owners who decided that Nathan Peterman and Case Keenum were all better than Colin Kaepernick. Those guys are the ones who need to be sending an apology. Those guys are the ones who need to be condemning racism. Those are the ones who need to be saying, we peacefully protest with you. Until we actually see you doing something. You don't need to post about it the second you do it. But we need to see some type of action, some type of something. And it's not incentivizing hiring black coaches to get draft compensation. That's not it, my friends. Do better. All right, friends, so thank you so much for joining me for this short, sweet, and slightly hostile episode. Not really hostile, just passionate, right? Episode of Katherine's Quarters. Obviously, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and make sure you're following me on Twitter because I am always talking about what is happening next. I mean, between the coronavirus and the country reopening and sports coming back potentially and obviously all of the protesting around the country, we have a lot to talk about. So we will be back for another episode later this week. I will see you guys then. Check you later.